Good morning, class 12, and I welcome you to the sociology class. So students, if you remember, then in the last class we began with a new chapter, the challenges of cultural diversity. And I also gave you a brief idea about the meaning of community, about the meaning of community identity along with its features. So I hope that you all went through those slides which I shared with you, and also I am hopeful that you all went through the textbook. So today we will begin with another topic, which is the next topic of the chapter. So today we will be basically talking about the states, the nation and the nation states. Alright, so kindly pay attention, go through all the slides, go through the entire video, and if you have any doubt, please feel free to contact me. And I also appeal to you to complete your homework, that will be given shortly, and you need to submit it latest by Monday. Thank you.
Communities, nation and nation states. So let us first begin with the meaning of nation, because the meaning of community has been already done in the previous chapter, not the chapter but the previous class if you remember. So what is a nation? Well, a nation is a large scale community. It is so large that it is also called as a community of communities. So the members of a nation, they share the desire to be part of the same political collectivity. So they desire to share some political experiences together, and this desire is expressed to form a state. This desire is expressed in itself as an aspiration, as a dream to form a state. So a nation, that is why, is peculiar. It is a unique form of a community which is very easy to describe. It is very easy to come up with this feature, but when we try to define it, in a comprehensive way, then it is very hard to come up with any such definitions of a nation. Okay. Then many nations, they are found on the basis of common cultural, historical and political institutions. So there are certain elements which makes a nation. So that nation may be the idea of common culture. There may be historical experiences, same political ideals. There may be an experience of, some kind of regional culture. There may be the question of ethnicity, language, religion, etc. So nations are found on the basis of certain common things or certain elements. So again, there are many nations that do not necessarily share a common language, religion, ethnicity or so on. And on the other hand, there are many languages, religion, ethnicities that are shared across in a nation. So we find nations which share common things, and again we find nations which are formed because of certain uncommon things, different languages, diversities, etc. Now, what is a state? In the most general term, in the most simpler term, state refers to an abstract entity. It is abstract as it cannot be seen. It is an abstract idea. It is not concrete. It consists of a set of political institutions. So there are political institutions in a state, and those political institutions are bounded by law. And what these institutions do, they claim control over a particular geographical territory and also the people living within that geographical territory. So that is why we can analyze the features of a state here. So a state is an abstract entity, number one. Number two, it consists of a set of political legal institutions. Number three, it claims control over a particular geographical territory. And lastly, it also claims control over the people who are living in that particular territory. So Max Weber has given a very well-known definition of a state. So according to Max Weber, a state is a body that successfully claims a monopoly of legitimate force in a particular territory. So Max Weber says that a state claims a monopoly. That means there is only one particular state who has got control of a particular territory, and that too in a legal manner. So this is Max Weber definition of a state. Now, I told you that there are various diversities that at times makes a state, isn't it? So what are the various policies, or what are the various strategies to accommodate all the various diversities that can be found? So the first policy is the policy of assimilation. So it means that, everybody decides to follow one norm, one belief, and one culture and a common value. That means the whole country follows the majority as they are more powerful. That means they tend to assimilate, they tend to come together, mix up together with the majority people in the country. And that is for the convenience and for the unity of the country. For example, in India, more Hindu festivals are celebrated at a greater, what do you call it? As Hindus are majority, so we celebrate all the Hindu festivals more if you compare it to the festivals of the Parsis, Christians, etc. So even we can find Muslim people celebrating Holi or Diwali. We can see Christians very nicely following these festivals. So therefore, policy of assimilation means to bring everyone together, to assimilate everyone so that there is unity in the country maintained, just like India does. Next is the policy of integration. Integration means to make one country or to make one group come and be a part of another group. Okay, so you will understand when you read these points. All people follow national culture or patterns in public life and keep all non-national cultures in private life. Because community identities can act as a basis for nation formation, that already existing states view them as dangerous rivals. So there are times when we see that the communities, the various communities, they try to come out of a particular state so that they can form another nation. We can talk about the Khalistanis. I hope you all know about Punjab, and even if you don't know it now, then by the end of your political science textbook of Indian politics, you will come to know about Khalistan. So Khalistan is a Sikh state that are that are wanted by the Sikh community in Punjab. So the Sikh people, because of their community identity, they want to build a nation for themselves based on their community. That is their Sikh community. So they want to bring or they want to build Khalistan. Okay, but this kind of emotions are actually dangerous to the unity of the country. So therefore, states tend to favor a single homogeneous national identity in order to have unity and togetherness. By suppressing the non-national culture of minorities or smaller sections, it can lead to problems, and instead of unity, the country will divide. So if all the time the various non-national cultures or the various wants and needs of the minorities are suppressed by the so-called state, then it might lead to problem, because there will be a tendency of these groups to come out of the state and form something different. So this will lead to problem. Okay, and they will try to move opposite to whatever the government says. So that is why the government allows people to maintain cultural difference in order to have peace and harmony in the country. So this is integration. Integration means to allow everybody to follow what they want so that their cultural sentiments are not hurt. Okay, so we have known about the policy of accommodation, that means policy of cooperation, and policy of integration. That means bringing everything together for maintaining the unity of the country. Now let us try to understand India's position as a nation state. So I will read some facts here for you. Kindly go through very well. The Indian nation state is socially and culturally one of the most diverse countries of the world. The population of India speaks about 1,632 different languages and dialects. As many as 18 of these languages has been officially recognized and placed under the 8th schedule of the Constitution, thus guaranteeing their legal status. Nowadays, instead of 18, it is actually 22 of such languages that are guaranteed legal status under the Constitution. So you can correct it. Okay, it's not 18, it's 22. In terms of religion, about 80.5% of the population are Hindus, who in turn are regionally specific. That means in various regions there are different kinds of Hindu people. They are plural in belief and practices. Plural in belief means each Hindu community does not practice the same tradition. Okay, there are variations in the things that they believe in and the practices that they do. And also this Hindu community is divided by caste and languages. About 13.4% of the population in India are Muslims, which make India the world's third largest Muslim country after Indonesia and Pakistan. The other major religious communities are Christians, Sikhs, Buddhist and Jains. And because of India's huge population, these small percentages can also add up to large absolute numbers. That means although these 2.3, 1.9%, these are seen to be very less percentage, but if you see the population of India, then actually these percentage also holds a number of people, a huge number of people. All right. So now let us see India's case. Nation state and relations with community identity. So let us see what kind of policy India follows. Okay. So the Indian case fits neither the assimilationist nor the integrationist model. So India is neither assimilating nor integrating. India is using something very different. From the very beginning of independence, the Indian state has ruled out an assimilationist model. That means they have not taken assimilation as a model of bringing communities together. However, the demand for such a model has been expressed by some sections of the dominant Hindu community. For example, the RSS. The RSS wants assimilation. They want everybody to come together and to follow something that is being followed by the majority in the country. Okay, but still we have to understand one thing, that although in case of religion we do not follow assimilation, but when it comes to the language policy, then at times we can see such integration. Okay. Then the constitution declares the state, that means the Indian state, to be secular. But language, religion and other factors are not banished from the public sphere. In fact, these communities have been explicitly recognized by the state. So the state of India says that we are secular, there is no official language, no official religion, all are free to practice their religion, language, etc. But at times it is seen that in the public spheres, in the public areas, these factors, they at times, they are recognized by the state. Not directly, but indirectly. By international standards, very strong constitutional protection is offered to minority religions. So internationally, if we see, then minority rights and their religions are always given some priority so that they can safeguard it. In general, India's problems have been more in the sphere of implementation and practice rather than laws or principles. So the main problem with India is that laws are made, laws are passed, but how far are these laws practiced and implemented? That is a big question in India. So on a whole, definitely India can be considered as a good example of a state nation, but still it is not entirely free from the problems of, problems which are common to nation states. So this is all for today, and based on everything that I have explained you today, I have forwarded 2 questions for you. So first of all, you need to give the definition of Max Weber about a state, and secondly you need to write about the policies of integration and accommodation, so that cultural diversities can be accommodated. So this is your homework for today. Make sure that you submit it by Monday. Thank you students for your cooperation. Have a very good day.